back to the Crazy Courage podcast. We are here with another business owner, another entrepreneur, another guy with an amazing story. His name is Behdad Jamshidi. I like to call him B. He likes to be called B. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to B so he can explain exactly what it is that he does.
Thanks for having me on the show, Nick. I'm really excited to be on. Maybe I'll give you a quick 1 minute background on what I do. I originally actually started out as an engineer in my career. And so I used to work for a company very similar to Verizon in the States, for those who are listening in the States, but up in Canada, it was called TELUS. And so I used to work on the B2B side of things, typically working with businesses anywhere from about 50 to 1,000 type employee range in the mid-market space, understanding kind of what's going on from a C-level perspective and IT perspective within a business, and then building out roadmaps. So like, how do you get from A to B to C within an organization? Nice. And typically it was around technology, but it touched a whole bunch of other stuff. As I was doing that, though, I kind of got into the marketing world, where I started building out websites, Google Ads, SEO, initially for small businesses. Got to a point where I really disliked doing ADR websites on the weekend. I was like, this is just not fun. I got paid way too well as a sales engineer to do what I was doing. So I started looking for partners to work with, different marketing agencies. And as I did that, I noticed that most marketing agencies didn't understand business, and most business people didn't really understand marketing. There's like this massive hole, and this hole just kept getting bigger and bigger over time. And so when I put people in the same meeting, they didn't speak the same language, or agencies were picking up what they shouldn't pick up, and businesses didn't know how to vet partners properly even. And so I thought very foolishly at the time, like, maybe I can find like 10 marketing partners and I can solve all of those problems. To date, I've talked to over 821 different marketing agencies and partners over the last 5 years, and basically built a vetted list of about 12% of those that I use when it comes to customers that I'm supporting.
Wow. So you're really just cutting away the wheat from the chaff, right? Like, that's literally what you do, and that's the service you provide. Is that you're like, look, these are the marketing agencies that are worth working for. These are the guys that are going to get you the results. And you're basically saying, at 12%, that's a low enough percent that, if I'm doing a Google search, I'm trying to find a marketing agency, the odds aren't real good that I'm going to pick one of the ones that you vetted, right? That's really what you're trying to tell me.
That's exactly it. And the thing is, I don't go on Google to find my marketing partners. Like, the really good marketing partners are getting referrals all the time. The businesses are typically built through referrals. And so they don't have the nice website. They're not doing SEO on their website, so they show up on the Google search engine. And so most of the agencies you find on Google are actually not the agencies you want to work with.
Really?
They're more of the burn and churn type agencies, where they're like, we always need more and more people coming in, because we're always letting go of people in the background. I mean, customers are leaving all the time, right? So, that's basically it.
Interesting. So you're a broker of sorts, right? Making connections. That's awesome. And I'm going to be honest, when you were telling me what it is that you do, it surprised me because I'd never heard of that sort of model, but it also surprised me that I hadn't heard of it before.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's a real, like, when you think of the word marketing, right? Marketing has a very distinct definition, but it's such a broad term, and it includes so many things under that umbrella, right? Yeah. Like, it's all that word sales stuff that you do to build your company, to grow your company, build it out. It's all sales, right? And like, that's the easy, I'd say, definition. But how many things fit under that umbrella? Like, you must have, like, when you're talking about, you looked at 800 marketing agencies, and you only, think that 12% of those are really worth your time. Like, out of those 12%, I expect that a lot of them have different specializations as well. Like, you must have like a spreadsheet to say, based on certain needs, you need this marketing agency, right?
Yeah, it's a balance. Like, so when you're talking about all the different marketing aspects, right? Like, so just looking at strategy, for example, like, you need a fractional CMO, like chief marketing officer. Most businesses get to 7 or 8 figures, but they don't have to have a marketing strategy to build that. Fractional CMOs do. Then,
so can you go back a sec? So what's a fractional CMO? Now, if I've never heard that term, but it sounds to me like you have, like, it's someone that works on it like part-time, or like develop a strategy, sort of. That's not their full-time role. Is that?
It's not a full-time role with that company. So imagine you know what a CFO, like a chief financial officer is. You know what a chief operations officer is. There are fractional CFOs. There are fractional COOs. So there's also fractional CMOs. And so typically like a business doesn't need a full-time CMO when they're in that like 7-figure, low 8-figure range, right? Like you're spending almost $180,000 minimum for that person of that kind of caliber. But instead, you can hire them as a fractional CMO where you're asking for a portion of their time. Maybe you only need like every 1 day a week of their time to help you with the strategy, set things up, and then you have a marketing director actually run with things. And
so this would be like, just to dumb it down for simple people like myself, this sounds like a virtual assistant at the C-level type of thing, right?
Yeah. If you want to dumb it down to that point, yeah. Very, very, very skilled.
Very simplified. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. So then you have the fractional, so you still have a director of marketing. You still have someone to implement the strategy sort of thing.
Yeah. And then the smaller businesses, I call it director of marketing, but really it's the execution person, right? Like you might have someone that understands marketing. It could be someone that's from university or someone that's more mid-tier. Where they're, for example, doing like the email marketing strategy and they're running some of your Google ads, but then they're also managing the teams that do, for example, Facebook ads or your search engine optimization. Like they're there kind of piece things together and do like the day-to-day execution work. And then you have the fractional CMO, strategic arm, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that your sweet spot in terms of the clients that you work with? Is like the 7 figures kind of guys where, they need like a fairly a well-vetted marketing agency, someone who provides a lot of services. They're not big enough to do it in-house yet.
Yeah. So like my sweet spot right now, and it evolves over time, is anywhere from like 3 million to 30 million, like businesses kind of doing in that range.
Okay.
But I have tons of customers that are making, 300 to 500,000. They're like, listen, we got to a point where we don't know what to kind of do next. I'm like, well, you need to establish a marketing foundation. Just typically getting the messaging out, at least posting out on the website, building a website that builds trust, having an email marketing strategy, or even getting some Google ads running, right? Like, I help businesses both smaller and bigger than that. The sweet spot is in that like $3 or $30 million range. But I ultimately just gonna help guide people like, okay, based on where your business is at and what you're doing, here's the right size agency for what you're doing. So typically if you're below that $3 million range, you usually have like a couple contractors or like one marketing agency that's like average at most things, but they'll get you from like a level 0 to level 3 or 4 in marketing, right? Get some channels running. Once you get to that like $3 to $10 million range, this is when like you actually need more niche partners. So you actually need to have a marketing strategy in place to kind of help you scale for the next level. Once that marketing strategy is in place, you go, well, what do you need? Is it Google Ads? Is it SEO? Is it cold email outreach? Is it cold LinkedIn outreach? Is it we have to build a social strategy? All of these different avenues for marketing require different specializations and different skill sets. And so when I'm working with customers in that like 3 to 10, it can go up to 20 to 30 million. They're looking for niche partners. So they might come to me and I'm actually matching them, like they have 7 different requirements. And I'm matching them with 4 different agencies or partners that will help fulfill on the 7. Because it's very, very, very rare to find an agency that can do multiple things really well.
So out of the 800 agencies that you've vetted, now do you think the agencies that are the cream of the crop, are those guys the ones that have specialized and do one thing or 2 things really well?
It's a mixture, right? So when you kind of go through this, you see different like styles of agencies, right? So let's say there's some agencies that kind of become very niche, kind of what you're talking about. Like they do SEO, that's the only thing they do. And they build a team of like, let's say anywhere from 25 to 45 people, right? And typically you need to do that because you do backlinking, on-page stuff, PR stuff.
Sure.
There's a whole bunch of things that need to kind of be done. So that's like one type of agency that's super, super niche, been around for a while, build other systems, and they basically just run with those systems. There's other types of agencies where they're like between, let's say, 10 and 20 people, but they're very strategic. Like these guys are really picky with the type of customers that they pick up because they basically have the entire marketing arm of a business, right? Those agencies I really like because they're like, listen, we only work with like 10 to 15 customers a year, and this is the rest that we start working at. We don't work with the masses, right? It's very focused on what they do, but in a different way. So they can come in and go, okay, we're going to build out your brand. Then from your brand, we're going to do the visuals and the storytelling. And then from there, we're going to get the website done. And then from there, we're going to help you with the growth marketing. And then marketing can be both offline and online channels, right? So those agencies are really, really interesting too. And then you have like the in between where an agency might be really good at 1 to 3 things, but then the other 3 or 4 things that they do are off the side of the desk. And so when I'm working with a customer, I'm going, okay, if your primary requirements are Google Ads and SEO, Maybe you have an agency that does that really well, and then they also do social media, but it's not at an average level, but your social media doesn't matter that much. And so therefore that agency might actually be a really good match for your business.
Right. So I mean, that's got to be one of the hardest parts of your vetting process is figuring out what they're good at and what they're not necessarily good at, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know what your process is. Maybe there's some secret sauce in there, but I expect like, you'd have to go through the work, see some portfolio work that they've done or something to see like, oh, wow, these guys do really good SEO. Social media stuff, not so hot, but so I mean,
yeah. That's exactly. And so if you're asking me like how my vetting process typically works, I always vet people for fit first, like values and fit and how I feel about them, like generally as people. So I always want to as good people.
Sure.
So I usually want a 30-minute call with an agency up front just to get a good sense of who they are, where they're going, what they're headed, what they do well. And if I like them, then I go, okay, based on what you told me, you said you're good at this, this, and this. Please send me information on X, like you do websites at this level. Please share me this type of website. Tell me the kind of cost point. Tell me how much it costs. Are you doing the copywriting? What do you use for SEO? Are you conversion rate optimization? It's just the websites, right? If they do Google Ads, okay, can you send me videos of all Google Ads accounts where you guys are running them, how you're running them, what the performance looks like, what you're looking at for keyword research. And then on the Facebook side, for example, this morning I was reaching out to an agency saying, hey, can you send me examples of videos that are great for your customers for the ads so I can see like what level they can be done at. Once I look at all of that, and then I have another level. So if I'm like, okay, well, I choose a person, your work looks good from the first point of view, first look. Then I have a whole hour deep dive session that I do with them that goes through 30 to 35 other questions of how the agency set up, how they do things, and all that kind of stuff. And then they get into my partner network. And I also charge them to get into my partner network. So there's like multiple levels of filters so that when I'm working with a customer, the chances of them getting a good agency that I've personally never used yet is high. But at this point, I've been doing this for over 5 years. I have agencies that I've worked with and I've sent 11, 12 customers to, and I know they're good.
Yeah.
In this scenario. So I'm at the point now where like I'm just like becoming a more and more master of the craft.
Of course.
Really damn good at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to a point where people are gonna have to spend a lot of money to use me. Like right now, they don't have to spend that much money.
So what you're saying is getting in now is a good idea. Right?
Basically, way in the future, I might be too expensive for most people to use me because I know what the value is, right? Like one of my customers, I just felt like a 25-minute testimonial from. Like he just was great. He used me for like 8 different partners to find, and he has 4 different businesses. And he's like, B, you help me reduce my dung tax. He called it his dung tax. Anytime he spends a PM, like something he didn't know he shouldn't have spent money on. He's like, the amount of dung tax you saved me, he's like, I would spend 10 grand a year just to have access to you. And I was like,
I think that's probably the best testimonial right there. You can sell people on, listen, I help you reduce your dumb tax.
That's it. Yeah, I'm going to be editing that and I'm going to use that for clips and be like, you don't just listen to the guy who makes multi-millions of dollars and he's using me for almost every single partner he's finding.
Right. Because you're saving them time and money. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing. And it's like, all the business people that I've spoken with, right? You start off, you're usually really good at something, right? You're good at, I don't know, you're a carpenter, you're good with wood. You're really good with wood. And then people are like, hey, man, you should go into business for yourself because you're really good. Like people will buy your products. And the guy's like, yeah, great. That's a good idea. I should do that. And then like, all right, you put up your shingle. You're open for business. It's like, crap, I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know anything about sales. I don't know anything about accounting. I don't know any admin stuff. But man, I've got these good products here, right? So that's the thing. A lot of people are trying to figure it out on their own. It seems like you kind of cut that, that unnecessary headache right down.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I try to do my best. I mean, my service is not perfect. I always say that, but 80 to 90% of the time, I'm hitting it on the first try. And when I talk to my customers, like I get surveys and feedback, they have to hire 3 to 5 times before they find one agency they like.
Right.
So if you just imagine going through 3 to 5 agencies, every single time you got to onboard them. So that takes about a month and a half. You have to teach them everything. You got to use them. Then they're not good after 3 to 6 months. So you fire them, and then you start it. If I can help you get that on the first time, I'm potentially saving you 2 years of time, which puts you ahead of your competitor because whoever figures this part out first.
Time, money, right.
Far ahead. So that's why I think like my service, I'm starting to realize like how much better it is and how much it helps people. 2-3 years in, I always kind of felt like, oh, I'm not getting this right enough. Like, this there's times where you like make a bad match, or like oh,
Right.
this poor business owner personality didn't fit with this agency owner, and all that stuff. But after doing it for 5 years and also going on to my sixth soon, you're just like, wow, this is such a valuable thing that you can help people get this on the first try. And I had one customer just 3 months ago who sold his business for $1.3 million more because of 2 connections that I made.
Wow, nice.
Like
Nice.
Google Ads and a conversion rate optimization guy, and he's like, dude, we would have not sold for $1.3 million more without you. It's
Wow,
like,
that's great.
I'm like, I should have got a piece of that somehow.
Yeah,
But
at some point you're thinking, all right, listen, hey, yeah. Look, but that again, that that guy's is next thing he moves on to, he'll probably come back to you, I would think.
he has 2 other businesses, and guess who he's using? So
There you go. Right, you're not only save people money, you're making people money. Look at that.
exactly.
That's great. And so, all right, man, I have so many questions. Such an interesting thing. Like I said, it's something that I didn't know about, but it just sounds so obvious that it would be needed, right? Like you said, marketing's easy. Everyone's like, oh, I do marketing. I put up a website, Facebook ads, whatever. You just kind of, spitball and hope you hit something. But man, like, I keep going back to that number. You're saying 12% of the agencies that you vetted are the only ones that make the cut. That just means, and you said most of these guys you don't find through Google. So if I'm Google searching, I have at least an 88% chance of choosing a marketing agency that isn't good. I'm gonna live up to their to what they say, and they're not gonna do a good job. They're not gonna be a good fit because I'm guessing, right? I don't know what to look for. That's at least 88%. So probably, I mean, I don't know, maybe it jumps up to like 95% because those 12% guys aren't even on. Well, those are staggering numbers. I mean, so you're just, and you're likely to lose money on the time, money, the whole thing, just because you don't know what you don't. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
so about marketing, unfortunately. So it's like a number of times I've seen someone spend money on a website before, like they're rebuilding their website. They come and talk to me, and I'm like, why are you rebuilding your website when you don't actually have a brand strategy or messaging in place? Like, I'm going to bring a fractional CMO in, which you're asking me for right now. But the thing is, they're going to come in and go, well, we don't have a brand strategy and your brand messaging in place, and so why are you rebuilding this website? And they're spending $40,000 to $60,000 on this website, and you're like, cool. Literally in 6 months, you had to redo it because you haven't actually thought about how to do it. Or someone's like starting out their business, and I always say, like, when you're starting out a business, just do what you can at the cheapest possible rate. But once you kind of get to a point where you're making some money, when you make smarter decisions, the faster you move ahead. And so, in the beginning, you might build your website on like GoDaddy or Wix or whatever it is. When you want to do it the second or third time, like it takes a little bit of time to think of like, okay, am I going to invest a little bit upfront on that copywriting work, maybe the brand work, maybe whatever it is, so that my website can last, 4, 5, sometimes even 10 years without needing to be redone a bunch of times. Like I redid my own website 4 times before I landed on my current version. Now my current version probably has about $60,000 just in it, like by itself. Really? Yeah. And it's like, it's a website that I could build on. Like I didn't add new things and bring new things in. I can add features into it. So I don't need to redo it. I've had this website for the last like 4 years, right? So it's like needing to know these things before you start marketing is extremely important, and most business owners don't. And so that's why when I talk to business owners that are, let's say, making that sub 1 million, typically I'll be like, listen, I can get you partners and stuff, but how about we do a quick consultation call where I spend an hour just telling you how the marketing machine works, so that you can like know what to look for as you're getting into it. Because if I don't set those expectations up correctly in the beginning and you don't have a foundational knowledge, then you're just going to be hitting your head against the wall for marketing all the time, right? And that's why all businesses don't make it. Not just like on that can be fun, but like just they don't get enough of that information up front so that they make less mistakes as they go through.
For sure, and you're wasting time and money on things that don't matter. And like you said, if it takes 2 years to figure it out on average, and to actually land on the right marketing strategy and agency, that's 2 years where you might be struggling and you might not make it. Like that's makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna go back in time for a little bit here, and then we can come back and we'll go back and forth. But so you said you started off in engineering, right?
Yep.
So what type of engineering is that?
I did electronics engineering.
Okay.
SFU. I did electronics engineering.
Nice. And then that sort of you branched away from that clearly, over time. That's did you have any idea that you would end up in marketing?
No, man, this whole path is just a weird inflection point. Like you kind of look at life and you're like, there's certain things that happen. You're like, I would have never guessed this would be the result.
Right.
When I started out in engineering, I remember like before I got into engineering school, we were camping one time with my dad and my cousin and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh man, I got into engineering school. I'm gonna like go and make $60,000 when I'm done in school. I'm gonna be like happy and blah blah blah, be like living life, laughing. And that's the exact thing that actually happened. Like I ended up graduating from engineering school, getting 2 different job offers, ended up
There
making
you go.
$60,000. And then realizing after taxes hit, I was like, man, I have no money here.
Yeah.
60 grand does not work. Crazy. But as I went through engineering, I did some programming. I did some like quality assurance stuff, or it was like testing. And then I landed at TELUS, and in TELUS I stayed there for about 10 years. And so I did a whole bunch of stuff from like outside plant engineering to security stuff to managing their innovation center for about a year and a half. Like,
Wow. Okay.
new stuff was fun. And then I landed in this sales role, like an engineering sales role that I loved. So I was like, this is the bridge between like understanding technology and talking to customers. And I love being that like the translator basically.
Nice.
Okay,
so that sounds like I love, you're being the connection guy. That sounds like there's that foundation.
Yeah, and I'm starting to realize it's like connecting things. It's my superpower. Right?
Yeah.
Is my superpower. It's
Nice.
one, not just connecting people together, but it's also just like connecting ideas together, connecting thoughts together, connecting like all these different things. Like my life is just around connection. I love connecting with humans. That's what I like doing. And the marketing thing kind of just like one day I was with one of my coworkers and he's like, hey, there's a guy making $50,000 a month, doing search engine optimization, and he does it for dentists. And I was like, what is search engine optimization? And I was making like $50,000 a month, like absolutely. I thought, right. And the guy had a 2-hour video on YouTube. I remember watching that 2-hour YouTube video, and I was standing in my living room, and my wife was sitting on the couch, and I was like, I think I'm gonna pay for this guy's like $500 course. Like it was just like $700 course that will teach you websites, Google Ads, and SEO or something like that.
Yeah.
Then my wife looks at me, she's like, well, if you do it, you better make some money. And I was like,
I know, right? That's always, yeah. Well, how much can you make? Well, when do you, and how soon, right? Because you got to get that back right away.
exactly. So I went down that path, and that course wasn't that great, to be honest. Like it was just give you 3 or 4 hours on website building, 3 or 4 hours on Google Ads stuff. Like it's just super basic. But instead of spinning my engineering brain, I was like, how do I figure this out? Like I'm curious. I just became intrigued, and like so I took like something on a Google Ads course, and I started building out websites, and then I started reading SEO textbooks, and so I got into it pretty quickly. And as I kind of went through it, that's when I told you I hated doing 80-hour websites on the weekend. I was like, man, I make 6 figures of my full-time job as an engineer. I don't want to like build websites on my weekend anymore. I don't need the money. And then the model started kind of like highlighting where someone was like, hey man, I'll give you a bit of a referral fee if you pass me a business. And I was like, that's interesting. And then that's where I started understanding
as soon as someone said, hey, I can make money connecting people again, that's the key, right? That's the key.
Exactly. So that's how I kind of got to where I am now. And like I said, I was foolish. I thought I just needed to be a couple like solid agencies that solve all those problems, but no, it's not the scenario. It's
right. Like, okay, how soon into it did you realize that it was more like there was more chaff out there than wheat? Like how, like finding the diamonds in the rough. Like how
that there's like this weird hope that I had. I had this like weird hope that there's like this agency that solves all the world's problems, and they're like perfectly set up to do it and all this stuff. Man, it didn't exist. It didn't exist. Every time I thought I found it, nope. No.
Unicorn's not around now.
It's there. Marketing shifting over to something else. Like, do you think about all the different marketing channels that there are? Like, from branding to websites to social media, SEO, Google Ads, influencer marketing, AI now coming into the picture, copyright. Like, I can go on and on.
No, you're right.
No one agency can do all of these. And the ones that say they do are the really, really large ones that will charge you a ton of money up front. They work with enterprise customers, and then they're hiring people on the back end, like to fulfill on your job. Or they have like partners, like a crazy partner network in place where they'll bring in partners to try to fit it all together. But even their partner network isn't that strong, right? Like unless you're the right fit, right? So the reason why I had to meet with so many is because I had to have so many different conversations and options. So that when a customer came into me, I'm like, based on the size of business you're at, the channel you need to use, this is the agency you use, and then in a year you're going to outgrow these guys and have to use the next agency that's going to take you to your next level, right? Like.
That's impressive that you've identified that you're not, this is your fit for now. This is what you're going to be, you're going to grow. You're going to be worth that much more. Your revenue is going to be higher. You'll be in a different place. You'll need a different, it's interesting that you can't even stay with that agency. Like you're going to outgrow it. Like that's, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And no one thinks about this stuff. And the only way you think about it is when you're in the world. Like,
yeah, you see these things happening, right? Yeah.
If I had I was like, why did that fail? Why is that not working? How do I make this work better? Like, it's always the question of like, how do I problem solve or solution create? Actually, I heard it on a podcast. I was like, instead of saying, I was on the podcast, I was like, instead of saying problem solving, like, I become a solution creator for this. So I'm like, I'm constantly trying to think about different solutions.
Right. Yeah. Don't come to me with problems. Come to me with solutions. Right. That's yeah. I love that. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, so just I love that model. I have to say, it really kind of blows me away. So what? I'm just trying to think. Sort of all the agencies that you work with, do you have to? So the ones that you've vetted and you decide, okay, these guys are really good agencies, are good at what they do. Do you have to keep checking in with them to see, hey, what are you guys doing now? Like it's been 6 months, I haven't talked to you guys. What?
Yeah. So agencies will come to me a lot because they're always evolving, right? They're moving businesses too. And so people are like, hey, we added this kind of like new offer because we're doing X and X. And so a lot of times I'll let that new offer sit for like a year because I'm like,
right, because it's new and they
offer. So they're always shifting and always changing, but I'm always asking them, well, tell me what you've done, what customers have done it, like that kind of stuff. And it really depends on my relationship with the agency, like how do I use them and have they done well for my customers? Because typically they're not going to offer me something that doesn't make sense. Like, they don't want to break that relationship. And so, people do shift, people do change. There's some agencies that I meet and they just change too much, right? Like initially the offer was really, really good. And then they're shifting so many times. I'm like, okay, you're too unstable to help another business stabilize, right?
Yeah, right.
And so things will shift. So I'm always paying attention to all the different things that are kind of happening. People will update me. And I built out an agency network in the background, like in a Slack group with a bunch of founders that I work with and stuff like that. So I try to keep my hand on the pulse as much as I possibly can.
And like you said, it's always evolving and constantly shifting, right? Like, I mean, look back to back when I was in college, we didn't have internet. We didn't have you were talking about media buying through radio, newspapers, that Google ads, none of that stuff, right? So I guess you're always checking to see who you got your finger on the pulse, checking to see who's up to date on the newest stuff. Like you said, AI, for instance, pretty popular buzzword these days. Like who's doing well with AI and
marketing shifts very fast. Like I mean, we're even talking that far back. Like it's just during COVID. Like things were all Facebook, Google ads. You could print money at that point. And then iOS 14 comes in, shifts everything. Data is no longer easy to read. And then now we're starting to hear people talk about social media again. People weren't talking about social media 2 to 3 years ago. Like they're all just putting money to ads and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like you need to build their social media. Do you know social media agency? Who can do UGC? Like it shifts, right? It shifts back and forth. And so we went from just like advertising, which is basically what you spend money to get your product in front of people, get the eyeballs, and then bat them back, right? Marketing is things are actually shifting into becoming marketing focused again, where you actually have to build a brand. People have to know who you are. You have to build out that content. You have to be in front of them all the time so that when they need something, they go, who am I going to go to? The guy that I've seen the last 10 times on my feed, for example, right?
Yeah, right. You build that trust just from seeing the brand over and over.
Yeah, and so marketing shifting, where it used to be, it used to be marketing. We used to do it that way, and then on to advertising. And now it's shifting back to you need to properly do marketing again. And so this makes it way, way harder for a lot of businesses because you have to use a lot of channels. Like you can't just use one channel to grow anymore. You have to at least have a website. You got to do your Google ads. You have to have an email list or some sort of newsletter to stay in touch with people. You got to do some social media because a number of times I've seen people go, I like looked on your social media just to see if you're alive, and it looks like you're posting regularly. And that's why I kind of reached out. Like people look right? For businesses just alive.
it's a big thing. Yeah, it is and that's what's so tough about well, I guess not tough, but it's just right these days, like whatever you do, you have to do it consistently, right? And you have to be, putting out good posts or good information through your channels consistently so that people know you're alive and you can capture your audience.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, that's going to build over time. And I think that's like, I think that's what you're saying is that we need to build the audience over time through all these channels. It's not just, you're just spraying ads everywhere, hoping
Yeah.
for the best. Although, I mean, to be fair, if you're doing it this way, you're not just paying for ads, you're building out these channels. There's more consistency. You're probably going to end up with a better audience and reach the right audience over time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's only two ways really in marketing. It's either you have time or you have money. Those are the only two ways. And if you have money, you can fast forward the time because you test more and test faster. But having the right foundation before you like start doing like spending the money is really, really important. Otherwise, you're just wasting a ton of it. I'm 5 years into business now. I'm just turned on ads.
Okay. Wow.
Right? Like 5
Right. So,
in.
yeah. So that's a good point, right? Like that's not where you start.
No.
Right.
Mine was relationship based, building out my like flywheel of people that I know, referral stuff, like being in different communities. Like I built my business from the ground up, and where like now I get referrals from agencies, from fractional CMOs, from other business owners that have used me, like all that stuff. And now I'm starting to run ads where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run ads in the next little while, and I'm okay with losing a bit of money initially because I'm testing, I'm doing things.
You're testing, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Right.
So leads are coming in, and now I'm going, oh, okay. I need to start getting like an appointment center because I'm not going to be following up with all these leads that are kind of coming in. Are they legit? Are they not legit? Are they going to waste my time? Like, there's all of these things, like hidden things that people don't see. Whereas, like most businesses will just turn on ads and go, okay, well, I'm going to just try to answer the calls as best I can, but then they're leaving leads on the table, right? There's a whole process to this stuff, and growing too fast, you do break.
Yeah, sure. You can't skip steps either, right? Like you have to grow organically, naturally. You have to get in. I mean, you have to get to the point where ads make sense for you, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to spend a bit of money and test and make sure that things are working properly. But yeah, like you got to start through the other channels, do it organically to start. I would think to me that sounds like it would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It all depends on the type of business, man. It's an interesting. Business is really interesting. I've seen so many different ways that businesses end up growing and making money, and there's no one way.
No.
But it's but fundamentally, your fundamentals need to be correct. Like there should be certain channels working. You should be building somewhat slowly. If you have money, you can speed that up for sure. That's why there's all these like startups and raises and all that different kind of stuff because you can speed it up. But you have to also just be either failing very quickly and reducing the amount of risk as you're failing, or just grow slowly and keep your risk low. And that's what I did with mine. I worked 3.5 years of my full-time job while running this business at the same time. And what I did is I took money from within the business and reinvested in the business itself. So I hired a VA, I hired a designer, I hired a developer while I was still working full-time. Because I was like, well, I can use that money to just amplify the amount of time that I have. And then it got to a point where I was like, no, now I absolutely need to lead because I'm losing out on opportunities that I can't outsource.
Right.
That's why I did the job. Right.
That's when you did the jump. Okay. So you really had a good So you had a good foundation before you made the leap, which is smart. So you're able to make more of a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Instead
exactly.
of just,
and it was a good choice because that years when interest rates went up and every business that was really struggling with interest rates, they started cutting their spending because everyone was scaling, right? Everyone was like, money's being printed basically. So they're putting money in, hiring, doing all this stuff. And they're like, wait, interest rates are up. We're not scaling anymore. Oh, people are not spending the same amount. We have to fire a lot of people. And it's like, they have no money saved. Like, I was like shocked. I saw more churn in 1 month than I would see in a year. During that recession.
Now, was that in certain sectors? Was that like marketing agencies? Was that
like during
e-com? Yeah. Okay.
E-com hit hard last year around March time frame.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. But luckily, the way that I kind of built up my business, ultimately for me, it was like, okay, you have like a 20% pullback right within the business.
Yeah.
Because of the e-com aspect of my business and people that I work with there. But at the same time, I had saved up a 1.5 year runway. So I was like, even if I went to zero, I would have a 1.5 year to figure things out, right? So even with that though, like your mind still plays tricks on you. It's like, oh, you're like, it's gonna fail and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
of course. Yeah, and that's the worst part about being a business owner, right? Is that there's always that doubt, no matter what, right?
No matter what. Yeah. And you can shift the mindset. Like I've been working about a year and a half on the mindset stuff. So like I have 2 different counselors, a business coach, constantly working on like how do you shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset, and starting to notice more and more of the effects like now where different thoughts hit up. It's like,
Okay.
how, you don't know the next level of the business. Like how do you get to the next level? It's uncertain. You've never done it before. And it's like, yeah, but I kind of got here and I didn't know what I was doing either.
Right.
I figured it out. Maybe I'll figure out the next step. Maybe it doesn't matter if I figure it out, but I'm gonna learn something along the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can almost like start combating that negative voice where it gets a little bit more quieter, and then the voice that's a little bit more positive gets a little bit louder, and so it's just like this like balancing game of like those two.
Nice. Wow, and I mean, I guess that's I see it all the time, right? Where you have these business owners and they're the face of the company, the buck stops with them. And so, they don't really have anyone to speak with or whatever that can appreciate what's going on. And so I think it's probably important to have someone you consult with, like a coach and other people that, can tell you, hey, listen, no, this, you're good. Like you just need to change the way you're thinking, and see the positive and maybe remind you how far you've come. And there were obstacles along the way. There will be more obstacles just because, something doesn't go exactly 100% your way. It doesn't mean that, well, that's it. Business is done. That just means it's another thing to learn and overcome, as you have already. So it's,
Yeah, and you're never starting from zero again. I mean,
that's right. Exactly.
in amount of knowledge. I'm from being an engineer to a marketing broker. Now I'm trying to say this modestly, but I have a lot more marketing knowledge than people that I went to marketing school. Like even like some of
Probably.
the same roles that I work with, I have more knowledge around how things actually work and who to actually use than people that have been doing this for like 10, 15 years. Like it's insane just because I just kind of started learning and learning. When I say like I've talked to 821, like so those people are experts. Like someone that's done Amazon marketing, for example, for 11 years. I'm asking them questions. What matters? How does it work? What makes you rank really well? Like what kind of products work? I'm asking from experts and getting expert answers,
Right.
which is really cool, a way of learning because you're learning from other people instead of like where things are outdated. You're learning like
So yes, absolutely. Yes. And of course, and you would, because your knowledge is real world right now knowledge, right? It's not, like you said, the outdated stuff that was printed in a book, or whatever 10 years ago, and they're still using the same book and it was outdated when it was printed. Like you said, marketing changes so quickly. Like there's no way they're keeping up with that stuff.
No, the always change. One of the coolest things is one of my best consultants in marketing though. He actually taught the MBA program that I kind of did, the MBA program that I did.
Okay.
He was the marketing professor there, but he's also a consultant. But he understands the foundational aspects of marketing so well that it doesn't matter what channels are being used. He's like, the foundations are the most important thing. And you really know, like, when you talk to him, you're like blown away because of the way he just approaches marketing. So there is this like aspect of like foundational knowledge where like you understand this stuff. All the other stuff are just tactics and tools to basically apply for this aspect of it, right? And so there is like that balance, right? Of knowing that foundational stuff, but then also knowing what's working in today's market and what's not, what's trending.
Yeah, and I'm sure, but you're seeing it from both sides of the equation too. You're not just like, well, I worked in a marketing agency or I worked, for a corporation and I saw their marketing or whatever. Like you're seeing what works, what doesn't. Like it's real. You have like real world data. Like we're talking, it's hands-on knowledge. It's a little. I would say you probably have broader knowledge of the marketing spectrum than most people that are out there, agency side, customer side. I mean, yeah, there's the foundational stuff for sure, but you're seeing what works and what doesn't, like literally, like as it happens.
Yeah.
And you're always getting constant updates about that same sort of data as well.
Yeah, we're asking the questions, right? Like I had a customer recently who needed 3 websites completed. All 3 websites needed different things. But their use case was so unique. I gave them about 4 different partners to talk to kind of help bridge and make a plan around it. And the final like result of it was, hey, we're gonna build this all on. There's a platform called Magento. It's like an open source platform, like somewhat kind of like WordPress and stuff like that, but it's more of an enterprise solution. I was like, wow, I would have never thought that these 3 websites made sense to build on Magento because of the first First site and the second site required Magento to build based on their old data set. The third site, which was going to be a brand new e-commerce store, which I would have thought would have gone on Shopify. But like, given the fact that the first two are going on Magento, they can share resources with each other, and business number two and the new business actually have shared resources. So we're actually going to build them all on Magento, so they have one tech stack underneath all. Whereas imagine if this customer is trying to do this themselves, and it's very rare agency that they found to do all of this stuff together,
Right.
do the CGO work on top, like they would have failed. Like 100% they would have failed without that, like that kind of approach. And then I learned a ton from it to know, next time if you're doing multiple different websites, we need to see which website requires which platform, and then we might have to feed it. Like we might have to actually build the other websites to match that initial website, regardless of looking at them separately, right? Like unique insights that I would like. Even if you ask me 2 months ago, I wouldn't have known that.
What you're saying is you're always learning, right? There's always something new.
Learning.
I mean, that's always good, right? You
Yeah.
stop learning, you die. That's it. The brain shuts down, you're done. It keeps it interesting if you're always learning and seeing new things. And especially if you're blown away, like, I would never have thought of that. Those kind of thoughts are the best. I always love those.
Yeah.
Now, are you at a point now where marketing agencies are reaching out to you?
That's basically how I've been building my network for the last like year and a half. So there is some that I do, like when I'm looking for something specific that might come in my network. But sometimes I'm getting marketing agencies that I work with or partners that I work with go, hey, you need to talk to B, hey, you need to talk to B. And I'm just getting introed into all of these partners from within my own network at this point. But you need to know B. You're marketing, you need to know B.
And with that, does that create difficult conversations? Like, look, I know ABC guy referred you, but you're not a good fit.
Not really, and like I'm very transparent with people. I'm like, either I like the stuff that you're doing. I'm just like, listen, I have enough people in our partner network that's strong enough. I'm happy to build my secondary network in case something ever opens up, or if we ever need to deep dive into it. I mean, I'm running a business, and the most important thing to me is my customers do well. Because my customers do well, everything else just works.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now, do you ever have any agencies that you're talking to that you say, hey, listen, if you guys work on this and this, we could work together? Or would you just like sever the really like, look, I can't do it? Did you ever give them advice or guide them or try to?
I tell them, it depends. I always try to make my network stronger. Like what people don't see in the background also is I actually will partner agencies in the background together as well. Like if I see that agency has a weakness, I'll actually partner them and introduce them to another agency and say, hey, these guys are going to strengthen this aspect here. I want my partner network to be extremely strong. Like I want people to be like really, really good. So I'm always on both sides trying to find ways of like, how do I make these things better? How do I get more insights? How do I get them to do better customer surveys so that they get better answers and they can keep their customers for longer and keep them happier?
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, of course, right? It's always the long game, right? It's always you're trying to make people happy for the long run, right? So yeah, it makes sense. You're building your network, and wow, it just sounds like and you enjoy being the connecting guy, right? So you're connecting agencies, connecting customers to the agencies, and all that stuff. Wow, it's it sounds like you found exactly what it is that you want to be doing.
Yeah, no, so I really enjoy what I do. Like if I can do the connecting and talking to people and business strategizing and all that stuff, I really like. There are aspects of my business that I don't like. Like I don't like the setting up a blog or writing content all the time. I write my own content for like my social, but I mean like content for like the blog and things like that. But as my business grows, I'm basically passing off the things that I don't want to do, things that take my energy.
Of course.
75% of the way there, right? That's one I'm hoping I get to 95 to 100% of the way there, but I know
of course,
or two to do that.
All right, so listen, we'll have one final thought. What does it look like for you in the future? Are there any plans? Is there what's the next steps? What can we expect from you?
So right now I'm just enjoying the process of what I'm doing. I'm just trying to enjoy the process of building up my business the way that I kind of want to build it out. I'm not really just focusing on the outcomes. Once I get that to a point where I get a lot of my time back, I'm going to be doing a lot of what I'm already doing. Like I really want to just focus on building content. Like I already do a lot of content. I want to do more video content and be like, look, I already built a business. It does X. I don't like financially free on this side. Now I want to show you what it took mentally and emotionally to kind of get there. And let me share the guidance and the pathway. And I love to read. I love to share knowledge. I love to do all that kind of stuff. So I'll be doing that. And then like at some point, there's likely going to be one, maybe even two podcasts. One's more of a hobby type thing that I want to do long term. And then one will be one for my business where I bring on like agencies to kind of teach people, what's level 1 of email marketing, what's level 2, what's level 3, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I got some things in the works for that as well.
Fantastic. Sounds like you got a lot of exciting things going on and plans for the future. So listen, B, I'm going to cut it off here because I think I've got like a really good story from you and I love it. I have way more questions for you, but I feel like it's something that we should like maybe meet again and have you on again and look to see in the future what if you got those podcasts going or all that fun stuff.
Always happy to chat.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, B. I appreciate your time and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks. Take care.